Okay, welcome everyone to Quality Improvement Methods and continuing today with quality in service. As we talked in the last lecture, that the quality determinants or the quality dimensions in the service industry. Today we will demonstrate a case study, an example shows you how you can conduct or apply measuring the quality level in the quality service sector. This research titled with a study of the effect of online banking quality gaps on customers' perceptions in Saudi Arabia. This study or this research done by me and my colleagues, Asim Affan, we both work on this research, and I will go focus on the main parts where it's needed the attention. Here is, as you can see in the second page on the column here on the theoretical background, if we read here the evolution, let's start here with from the beginning. Parasurman here is the one behind the quality gap model or the service quality. They call it the ServQual, to measure the service quality on online banking. And this model was mainly generated or established by Parasurman to measure the service industry. And then it's been used to different applications. The ServQual model is widely used to measure the service quality in service industry using quality determinants. These determinants, the one that we covered in the previous part, the evaluation model relies on 5 measurements categories: the tangibility, the reliability, the responsiveness, the assurance, and the empathy. And we have talked about those previously. But in this study, we didn't use those 5 dimensions or determinants as stated. And the reason for that, it's stated also here. The quality determinants usually give an overall understanding of measuring service quality in the service industry, since some of the quality determinants contradict with the multiple meanings, specifically in online banking. And this is the reason why we have used different 5 determinants or 5 gaps. The definition of those determinants in the online banking, it shows some kind of contradicting. That's why we relied on 5 other gaps also from previous research, stating those gaps are specifically can be used in the online banking case study. Those 5 are going to be demonstrated here in the next page. Let's show them here. Here. Technology, service reliability, technical knowledge, security assurance, human interaction. Those 5 are driven from those other 5 that is generated by Parasurman, but these more towards or more applicable to the online banking. Now, in your case, you may look for the same thing for determinants that suits for your case better, or you can use the original 5 determinants, the one that we have stated them already in the previous part. And then we defined, as we defined before the 5 determinants in the previous part, here also we looked for the definition for those gaps in the online banking. So the definition of the technology gap is the difference between the customer expectations of ease of use and the actual. So the difference between الاكسبكتيشن اللي هو المتوقع واللي بيحصل عليه اللي هو الحقيقي في ايش؟ in the functionality and usability of the bank website. The service reliability is the same, the difference between the expectation and actual. In what? In the bank reliability and bank website fulfillment. The knowledge is about the bank website level of design and complexity. The security assurance is about the privacy, security of the bank website. The human interaction is the difference between the expectation and the actual in the human interaction and the bank website responsiveness. And this is similar, by the way, to the responsiveness or the determinants. So these are the ones that we are going to use them in measuring the quality gaps in the online banking. How we implement our model? Let's go back here to explain. The interaction comes here in the website interface, and the bank is also stakeholders of definitely the website, and the banking industry in general, they are stakeholders, and the customer. So we are studying the gap between the customer and the experience with the website or the website interface. Considering that all these stakeholders, we have divided or categorized, or we put in 3 phases the interaction between the customer and the online website of the bank. These 3 phases are starting with creating username, accessing the account on the website, performing the transaction. Performing transactions mean like doing transfer, doing paying bills, checking your account. Okay, the mouse is going to be here. Okay. It's requested to show the pointer. Now, here is the interaction between the website and the customer. And here we are studying the gap between them. We have developed 3 phases, and these are the 3 phases commonly to be happen between you or between the customer and the online website. The online website and the interaction with the customer usually start with creating the customer username and then accessing the account and finally performing the transaction, whether it's transfer or paying the bills. So we are studying the gap between all these 3 phases. So we divided the interaction between the customer and the online website into 3 phases. And then we generate something called the research questions or the model questions. These questions, the objective that you would like to collect at the end from your result, starting with the first one until the 7th one. Do quality gaps have significant effect on customers' willingness to use OB? هل الquality gaps لها أثر كبير significant على رغبة أو الويلنج اللي هو قابلية العميل في استخدام الأونلاين بانكينج اللي هو الموقع الإلكتروني. Do quality gaps have significant effect on customer satisfaction in OB? هنا هل لها أثر على رضا العميل؟ هناك على رغبته في استخدام الموقع. هنا عن رضا عن الOB اللي هو الأونلاين بانكينج. Do the 3 interaction phases اللي تكلمنا عنهم ال create user, access and doing the transaction have significant effect on technology gap? هل هذه 3 phases لها أثر كبير أو متأثرة بشكل كبير بسبب التكنولوجي جاب أو لها علاقة بالتكنولوجي جاب؟ Again, we are going to continue this question about the 3 phases interaction in all the 5 dimensions or all the 5 quality gaps: the technology, the reliability, the technical knowledge, the security, and the human interaction. The same question repeated again. Do the 3 interaction phases have significant effect on human interaction? So the first 2 is to measure the willingness of the customer and the satisfaction. And the remaining are to measure the impact on each one to the customer experience. طيب, we summarize these hypotheses here in the next page. We put them as a hypothesis, H0 and H1, for each of those questions. And then we create sub questions related or coming from all the 5 dimensions. So let's start with the first one. The significance effects of quality gaps on customers' willingness to use OB. It consists of 5 questions. Each question or each statement in the hypothesis referring to one of those quality gaps. The first one is in general for the willingness of OB, and the second one on the satisfaction. The third and fourth and fifth one, it's on the security, the human interaction, the technical knowledge. We will see also the same, the satisfaction, we are going to implement the same, the technical knowledge, the security, the human interaction. And then we will apply the same 3 phases for creating the username, the accessing, and performing the transaction against all these, the willingness and the satisfaction. We will see in the questions when we come to the survey and get more clear about the picture. But this is how you design your model from the beginning. You have to identify the objectives or the research questions or your model goals here, and then you generate under each one of those what are going to be the factors that are going to affect on the customer willingness. These factors could be the 5 quality service goal gaps, or in our case here the online banking quality gaps, or it could be other factors that you identify. But here we focused on the one given here, the significance on the willingness and the satisfaction, and the remaining interaction between the customer and the online banking, which is the 5 quality gaps we have stated them earlier today. Then we have the frequency. These are the results. We will go to the questions to give you how these results come from. So let's start with the results of this model, and then we will go. These are the demographic information, which is something easy. You are going to do it at the end later. But let's move on here to the model and continue. Now, to go over the result, and then we go back to the details here. This is the result, shows the dependent variable of model 1 and model 2. We're going back. This is already explained that model 1, which is the questions, the research questions. The customer satisfaction and the customer willingness. We measured them all against the 5 quality gaps, and we found the significant effect comes for the satisfaction from the reliability, the technical knowledge, and the human interaction. Regarding to the customer willingness, يعني إمكانية إنه الكاستمر willing إنه يستخدم ال OB أكثر عامل بيأثر عليه اللي هو التكنولوجي والهيومن انتراكشن. هذه أكثر عاملين بتأثر بشكل كبير كانت على إمكانية العميل أو استطاعة العميل في استخدام الأو بي. بالنسبة لرضا العميل، الآن هو جرب الخدمة، فأكثر 3 عوامل أثرت عليه اللي هي reliability والknowledge والhuman interaction. طيب, now we go to further more studies and then we go to the details of the results. All these done by the regression, by the way. After you collect the surveys, then you can conduct a regression analysis. Now here is the creating, accessing, and performing against each one of those quality gaps. The check one is the significance one. So when we see it has checked, that means it's significant to that quality gap. For example, creating the username, it's affected by the technology gap and the reliability and technical knowledge and so on. Here we see the human interaction affecting the creating and performing. The accessing usually is not affected by the customer because the human interaction is not needed that time, but usually you need it in creating, or if you face a problem when you do transaction like transfer or paying and you have an issue there, and then you need the interaction. So the interaction that time will impact on that quality gap. This is the summary of the result. But how we got to these results? We did, as we said, a regression, starting from the previous page here, between all the questions of the model, and we collected data and we conducted regression analysis between the dependent variable, which is the question, and those and those factors are associating with that question. For example, here the model 1, the significant effect of quality gaps on quality on customers' willingness to use OB. The dependent variable here, how would you rate the level of preferences of online banking as opposed to visiting the bank branch or using phone banking service? So how you rate it, this is the question. And then we have sub questions related to that customer willingness regarding to each one of those 5 gaps. One for the technology, one for the service, the technical knowledge, the security, and the human interaction. We look for the values that is less than 0.05, and we consider those are the significance factors to the model or to our question here. And the one has more than 0.05, then we consider those as not significant to that question. Again, in model 2, in model 1, we are measuring the willingness. In model 2, we are measuring the satisfaction, as we said. We're going to do the same. The only difference is the willingness is you are sensing or measuring the market. What is the people are looking for in this? Are you willing to do this if you are if you have that level of technology, that level of reliability, that level, and then you are assessing the result based on his willing, based on قابلية العميل إن هو يروح ويستخدم هذه الخدمة أو هذا المنتج. فأنت هنا الآن كأنك بتشوف احتياجات السوق فعلا في إيش. In the satisfaction, you are measuring the experience that is already done by the customer. Okay. In model 3, we are measuring the technology gap against the creating, each phase, creating, accessing, and performing. And we see all the results here are less than 0.05, which means all of them creating the user account is going to impact, or let's say the bank website useful and functional when we can say that, this is our statement here, our hypothesis here. When we can say that it's useful, we are measuring that usefulness based on the technology gap on the 3 levels, as we said, the creating the user account and logging to the account credential is useful, website functionality usefulness, and transactions and other procedures easy. So all these 3 are significant to the technology gap. If we move to the service reliability, we are going to see the same. And the same for the technical knowledge, which is related to the design and how it's user-friendly. Here, how it's easy and how it's feasible. Here, how is it easy, user-friendly, and whether it's require a technical knowledge to do it. Like senior, elder people, they're not maybe familiar on using, so it may affect their usage or experience with that particular gap, like the technical knowledge gap. We see here some example where you can see a values that is more than 0.05. There was no need for assistance from the bank when logging into my online banking or my online account. And we can tell from here that this was significant. Sorry, is not significant. Why? Because the significant effect of the 3 phases in the human interaction is not needing from the customer service representative in the logging. You need them either in creating or perform the transaction. And that's why you see in the result here, the human interaction gap in accessing is not significant in terms of the interaction. But in all the other, all 3 phases are significant to all the 5 quality gaps. But as an overall, which one has impact on the customer satisfaction most? The service reliability, the technical knowledge, and the human interaction from the p-values that you get. And for the customer willingness, you find that technology and the human interaction are the significant one. Now, I will move on to the questions. This is the questions. I skipped that part about the demographic information. I will explain it here now. First, you have to give in your survey a letter about the purpose of that survey. Thanks the participants about their time. This has to be coming from the beginning. And you have also to share that this information is not going to be shared in public, like his name, his feelings, his information. All his information will be handled confidentially. All this has to be coming from the beginning. So this is like the welcoming part. Thank you for participating in this survey. The purpose of this survey is to track trends in e-banking. See, the trends is not only just to measure the quality gaps, but also to get kind of what is the people are expecting. This research is done, I believe, in 15 or 17. It's around that time. It's conducted, started in 2015. For the research purpose only, the survey will take no more than 10 minutes. So you have to do the survey by yourself and you see how much really time needs. So you can give them that accurate time. This is a kind of lengthy survey. All information is strictly confidential and will not be shared. And then you give that to start option for the participant. And here you are trying to have some questions, as we said, demographically هي بتعطيني بعض زي الجنس، العمر، يعني فئة معينة أنت تحتاجها أحيانا to categorize your results. Sometimes you want to compare based on the age, based on the gender, based on the education level. So the results, it may matter, or you see maybe these factors affect the results. So these, we call them demographic information. You design them based on your case study. In our case here, in the past 6 months, approximately how frequently you use online banking in Saudi Arabia to check balance, carry out transaction. يعني كم مرة في خلال الست شهور الماضية استخدمت الأونلاين بانكينج؟ daily, 4 to 6 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, once a week, less than any of above. How old are you? هذا مهم جدا أيضا. In which region in Saudi Arabia do you live? حطينا كل مناطق المملكة، لأنه ممكن هذه بتعطي برضو تصور من region لأخرى، قد يكون في يعني deviation في الريزلت. Please indicate your level of education. هذه جدا مهمة طبعا، لأنه عندنا technical knowledge part اللي هو الجاب in here. And this one, it may be affected by the level of knowledge. Non-college educated، فصلنا باختصار جديد. هل عندك شهادة جامعية أو كلية أو إلى آخره؟ college educated، سواء بكالوريوس أو أعلى. What is your gender? Your marital status، الانكم اللي بتتحصل عليه بشكل شهري أو سنوي حسب الحاجة. For which bank in Saudi Arabia have you utilized an online service? أي واحد من البنوك هنا، قد تكون بعضها أسماء قديمة طبعا، هذا الكلام في أشياء كثيرة تغيرت من وقتها، اندمجت بنوك، فيعني this is based on the time which this research is conducted. And which bank do you mostly utilize for online؟ يعني هنا أي واحد من البنوك جربت، and here which one is the most you utilize، أكثر واحد أنت بتستخدمه، فتجربتك حتنبني على أكثر واحد أنت أكيد بتستخدمه. Recalling your experience with online banking، the one that you use the most، يعني أكثر واحد تستخدمه، لأنه أحيانا هذا طب أنت تسأل تقول ليه why did we ask this question؟ لأنه when you give me your response about this particular bank, and in the previous question here you mentioned you have experienced more than one bank, that means I'm considering that you have interacted with other online banking, and you are giving me your response based on your comparison between the one that you use the most frequent and other banks. فهذه معلومة جدا برضو، أو كان سؤال جدا مهم حتى يعطيك هذا التصور. طيب based on your answers to the previous questions, recalling the طيب قلنا هذا الكلام، احنا هنا at what extent do you agree or disagree on the following؟ هنا كان الديزاين it's better to use the phone horizontally عشان بتطلع معك هذه بشكل واضح. طبعا here depend on the platform you are using. Google Form can do that freely. There are some platforms advanced in surveying. SurveyMonkey is one of them. Qualtrics also one of them. There are many surveys platforms. Creating my online account using the bank website was useful. Strongly disagree. Disagree. Neither. One. Agree. Strongly agree. Not applicable. Now here we are starting with the usefulness of creating the account, and the useful if we go to the quality gaps, حنرجع خلينا let's illustrate the questions and then we will link them. Logging, now after you create the logging, the website functionality usefulness, website service are easy to use, the process of recovering my login information is easy. The bank website useful and functional. The website highly reliable when creating my account. Logging to my account, bank is reliable. Now you are measuring the reliability. Performing procedures and transactions on the website is reliable and fulfill my needs. The service provided through the online banking are performing as promised. This is assurance. The bank website, عفوا, here is also reliability. The bank website is highly reliable. Also, this is reliability. Now we move on to the third dimension, I believe. Yes. Here is the technical knowledge, and it's more of the design of the website. As you recall, خلينا نرجع معلش نعمل لكم refresh. Let's go back and do refresh. These questions, where it's coming from. It's coming from here. The definition of each one of those. You generate questions, not one definitely. You will have to generate multiple because the experience of creating the username, accessing, making the transaction will require more than one question. So we are now at the technical knowledge where we stopped just now. The technical knowledge, if you go to the definition, is the difference between the customer expectation and the actual in the website level of design and complexity. So it's related to the complexity and the design of the website. So let's go back and continue our question. Here. So starting from the creating, the logging, and then the experience while you are performing. So here, the questions regarding to the experience with the design. Okay, the security requirements to log in the website. Here we are moving to the security. We have completed the design here in these questions, and here you create, starting from creating, and then logging, and then performing, and here also is regarding to the security, and definitely the security part is the significant part in both willingness and expectation or experience. Then here we are dealing with the questions that is related to the fifth quality gap, which is the human interaction. I didn't need assistance from customer service representative to create my account. Whether you put it in the positive, you put it in the negative, just make sure that what you are measuring, and then when you do the analysis, what you are referring to in your analysis. There is no need for assistance. You strongly disagree. When you say strongly disagree, then you need assistance. But when you say strongly agree for this statement, then you strongly agree that there was no need for the assistant. Basically, you just agree or with disagree with the statement as it is. And the last two questions here, also regarding to the this one related to the human interaction. The last one is the overall experience with the human interaction. Then we added a scale from 1 to 10. How would you rate level of preferences for online banking? And then on a scale from 1 to 10, how satisfied? Here, how you rate your level of preference, and from yeah, still there's one more page. Yes, here. From your experience with the online banking, the rank following factors are where 1 is the most important, 5 is the least important. here we give more definitions to also to the people who's doing the survey, so they can also, when you ask them a questions related to these gaps, you don't assume they know what you mean behind them, because as we said, the reason from the beginning why we shift from the quality determinants that is stated earlier in the previous part compared to this one, because the overlapping sometimes on the case study, some words it may overlap, so you have to define them. So when you ask about the customer about these terms like usefulness, reliability, you don't assume the customer or the participant will know what is the meaning. So in this, for example, here in this question, from your experience with the online banking, rank these factors. Which one is the most important to you? You just cannot put usefulness, reliability, design, security. You have to show him what do you mean by the usefulness. Is the website is easy to use and functional? Reliability, using e-banking service is highly reliable in fulfilling my needs. Why? Because security and reliability, it may confuse the person. Security, we are talking about the data, the information, your money, all that is secured. Reliability is what you promise to be received as a service, you receive it from the online banking. So here you do ranking, and here you rate your preference to that bank, which means is like the willingness, and here how satisfied. These questions are going to be used to measure all the other questions responses against them to evaluate which one has the most significant impact onto the satisfaction in question 13, and on the willingness, as we see in question 12, and also in question 14, we can use that as a validate point to see which factor or which quality gap was the most important to the participants. For example, they have selected, let's say, the satisfaction was, let's say, 4. Now, when you are going to measure and you see all the results from the previous questions, you will see some questions here strongly disagree and some strongly agree, and so on. When you put them all together in a regression, you will see why at the end his satisfaction level was 4 is going to be based on the question that he's selected in this side. And from these questions, you will identify which quality gap was the one most likely will affect his satisfaction and cause that low level of satisfaction. The same for the strongly agree or the positive side. If you choose 8, 9, 10 level, you will go and filter and dig inside these results and see the gaps or the questions where he felt agree and strongly agree more, and these will be the one that impact on the customer satisfaction most. So you put them as a dependent variables. Okay, and basically you just collect these data and put them in Minitab, and you conduct a regression analysis with the responses for the questions, and you can get these values as we received it here. You see the technical knowledge gap, for example. You will collect all the questions related to the technical knowledge gap that is affected the willingness question, and here all creating, logging, and conducting the transactions questions, how its impact on the technology gap. Which one of those phases was affected the most? You see them all here high, except for the human interaction. As we said, we can see that it's quite low here in this question based on the participants. The total of participants in this question, in this survey, the study, I believe, is over 200. It's stated somewhere here in the table. Yes, it's here. It's 268 daily. 21 participants, they use it daily. 4 to 6 times per week, we have 70 people. 22 to 3 times per week is 85. Once per week is 92. And the respondents for each bank, as given here in the table, male and female, almost the same, equal, slight only difference here between them. The age, the majority of the age were from 15 to 34. The education level, most of them are college educated. So this is an explanation of a case study for measuring the quality gaps in service industry, and in particular in online banking, as an extended to the previous lecture of quality in service. I hope this exam will give you an overview what you expect to do when you are going to implement a study on measuring the quality determinants or gaps in a service sector. You have to start with the model. This is what it needs the most of the time. Generating the questions, reviewing the model, reviewing the hypothesis very well before you do surveying or sending your survey link. I hope you enjoyed that, and inshallah we'll see. We will close the session here and we will take the question, and I will see you inshallah in next sessions.